Hey everybody, this is the 5 o'clock update now on Hurricane Florence. Now it's a little after 5, of course, but this is the latest data. Still a Category 1 hurricane. It has gone up to 85-mile-an-hour sustained wind now, but what's going to happen here over the next 24 hours will be a rapid intensification here of this storm. It's going into very favorable conditions to strengthen very quickly. Warm water, low wind shear, or warm water, and also low wind shear to just not really tear this thing up. So this is Florence right now, Category 1, moving west at 7 miles an hour. The pressure down to 975 millibars. But what's important about this is how strong it's going to be. Now check this out. By Tuesday, going to be up to 145 miles an hour, still over water. But the latest forecast track does have this going a little bit further north. So technically, the cone here is not over the Savannah area anymore. That being said, still 4 days out. You don't want to take that and think that you're completely out of the woods yet, because that would just be irresponsible. But it is looking more likely that the Georgia coast will be less impacted by Florence. Does that mean that could stay the same all the way from now through potential impact and landfall? No. But the latest guidance does show this going a little bit further north. But keep in mind, this red line is just halfway between the cone here. So technically, in favor of going on either side of this, right now it does look like most models do indicate that this is favoring a little bit further of a northern potential landfall. Something else that's very important is to talk about how some models now keeping this offshore altogether. So yes, we do have the potential there for a landfall, which now looks like it could be either the northern coast of South Carolina or North Carolina, but also could stay just offshore. But the big story here, wherever this does make landfall, not just the fact that it could be a potential Category 4 or close to it storm while it makes landfall, it could slow down significantly once it gets close to shore and then once it potentially goes onshore. What does that mean? That means a lot of rain. Some models showing over a foot of rain for North Carolina and Virginia. So a flooding threat is definitely going to be possible going into Thursday, Friday, the end of the week for this particular scenario if that did happen. But largely from our last update, Jamie Erdahl this morning, and then the updates that you watched yesterday, not a big change. So if you're coming back for like the biggest, the new info, really we don't have a huge update for you, but it is a little bit further north than last time. So I know some people see this cone, that the forecast cone here from the National Hurricane Center might get a little anxious, and rightly so because of years past storms. But right now it does look like the Georgia coast impacts are going down a little bit. But I say that with you guys understanding that that could still change, even though most models do take this a little bit further north. Now, I do have my phone in front of me, and I haven't looked to see if you guys are asking questions yet on Facebook. I will get to that, but I do hope to answer most of your questions here on this stream. Now, these color contours show the chance here of tropical storm force wind over the next 5 days. Looking into the inland communities here of Georgia, not a good chance whatsoever of seeing these tropical storm force wind. You go up toward the low country, closer to Charleston, Myrtle Beach, North Carolina, that's where you've got the better chance of having these stronger damaging winds. In fact, let me just show you storm placement with this. If this forecast rings true, and models have been fairly consistent with this, so we are relatively confident in telling you guys that it does look like this could make its potential landfall north of us, as my graphics kind of take a second to come in there. That's all right. But say, for example, this goes to the north of the low country, coastal empire here. Well, what's going to happen is you're actually going to have wind that's going to be pushing out toward the ocean instead of coming in. So it's going to be pushing out, and that's going to make pretty dangerous conditions along the coast. So I think that even if we don't have a direct impact from Florence, the chance still remains that we feel some impacts, it might not be very visible, but we're going to have a high risk of rip currents, and these are mainly going to be coastal impacts as of the current forecast for Florence there. Rough surf, we could even have the potential for beach erosion, and then of course you're not going to want to be out there with your small crafts either. You don't want to be out there with the little boats. So this is kind of what I'm thinking about now. This is going to be midweek, say Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and excuse me, that's really what we're thinking about right now as far as potential rainfall amounts, potential wind speeds. Really a little bit too early to tell still, even though, I mean, we are still 4 days out, even maybe a little bit more than that. So something to just keep in mind. And I also want to tell you that we're going to lead every newscast, most if not every, with the latest on what's going on with Florence here on out. So you guys can tune in the morning, at noon, in the afternoon, in the evening, and that's when you guys can count on us to bring you that if you don't have access to one of these digital updates that we do. So this is what we're looking at. Again, maybe some people just joining in. There are a lot of folks tuning in, and I thank you for taking a couple minutes out of your busy weekend for it. But just kind of recapping this and hopefully answering some of those questions along the way, we're seeing Florence likely taking that more of a northern path here as we go to the next couple of days. But storms that get strong sometimes become very unpredictable with tracks, and we haven't necessarily had a storm of this caliber in this area of the Atlantic in 2 decades. Really, it's been a while, so it's still unpredictable. This is just where most models are agreeing on now. So again, I advise you to come back for more updates. But Category 1 now, and something that's going to be very important, you're going to watch this moving forward speed, 7 miles an hour now. That's going to really increase as we go into the next couple of days before it slows back down again. That's something that often gets lost in hurricane coverage, is just how fast these storms move, because say this thing is coming out here, major hurricane Category 4, but it's moving very, very slowly. Well, those stronger winds are going to be over land, a certain area of land for even longer, causing potentially more devastation for whatever that is. Now, again, I don't want you to focus directly on this red line, but this is the area of the coastal Carolinas, North Carolina specifically, where a lot of the data is trying to say that Florence has the best chance of making its potential impact. So this is what we're looking at here. I do want to show you one more thing. Zooming out here, if you're going to go by this forecast cone, I mean, you got to play it both ways, right? Some of it, the extreme northern side of this, keeps it offshore altogether there. So now there is a small potential that this stays offshore. Is that the most likely case? Probably not. It is increasingly likely that the East Coast will have an impact from this, but it is also showing that it's a little further north from, say, the Georgia coast. So another thing, you guys are going to see these scary plots and things over Facebook, Twitter, wherever you guys go, and I thank you for coming to us for your weather information, because I'm going to explain these to you. These will just show you the center of circulation, the track that's going there. You saw how big that storm was. It goes hundreds of miles out, and that superimpose that on here, and you've got a big storm here with the center of it, yes, will be on these lines, but the impacts extend greatly outside of that. My concern now is not necessarily for the Georgia coast whatsoever, but for this particular thing I'm about to say, but potentially this really slowing down, causing major flooding issues, even inland going in North Carolina into Virginia. Is that our forecast area here at WTOC? No, but models are agreeing on that, and that could definitely be catastrophic for where this happens to make landfall if it does. So appreciate you guys tuning in here. I know that I didn't answer any specific questions, so maybe I'll come on here and do that. It's a little early still, but to make these definite decisions. But right now, I'm not necessarily worried about the coastal empire specifically. You go into the low country, South Carolina coast, things are a little bit more in play. But I think that the biggest takeaway from you guys watching this is that this is a fluid system. It's not an exact science. Things are going to change with this as we go forward. We know by looking at storms in the past how quickly things can change in 2 days, right? So I think that even though models are very compact, for models anyways, of where the storm's going to go, that you have to be very careful and 4 days out making a decision saying, all right, we're in the clear, or all right, we gotta, prepare. I think it's best for everyone to just have their hurricane plan ready to go, and if need be, hopefully not, but if need be, you could enact that. Now, right now, again, it is looking less likely of a high impact on the Georgia coast, more so North Carolina, Virginia, further up toward the mid-Atlantic is where the higher odds of a higher impact would be. But right now, that's what we're looking at. Now, if I didn't answer any of your specific questions about the storm, feel free to message us on Facebook, myself, Cutter, Jamie, Ron Wallace, Dave Turley as well. And we're going to have another one of these updates coming up tonight at 11 o'clock. That's when the next update comes out from the National Hurricane Center. I don't expect a large change, but I will show you this. There is a little bit of interesting science going on here with the National Hurricane Center going back out and getting some more data for us. So I kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday, and we're getting more data from this storm, and this is a very valuable tool. You can see that it's going on the outer bands here. Now it's going to go toward the inner bands. It's not just the upper air analysis either. That was something I was looking at yesterday. But once this data gets ingested into the forecast models, we're going to be increasingly more confident in our forecast. So something you definitely want to tune into for the upcoming days. But at least as of right now, I say anywhere at play from, the Georgia coast up toward Virginia really still needs to keep a very, very close eye on this. In fact, I was just looking at stuff that was coming out from the National Weather Service in Jacksonville, and they're still keeping a very close eye on this, putting out strong words of people down there to even on the Florida coast to keep an eye on this. So we're by no means out of the woods just yet. It is just looking more likely that this could go a little bit further north. Again, 4 days out, this could change. So we're gonna have another update coming up tonight at the news at 11. So be sure for that. I'm gonna put out a push alert sometime around 11 tonight with that latest data. And I think we're also gonna have another digital update coming up tonight at 8 o'clock, but there's not going to be a new forecast from the National Hurricane Center, so it'll be very similar to what you're seeing now. So maybe you want to have dinner with your family instead of tuning into this for a little bit. But again, my message inbox on Facebook always open for you guys. I'm here for you. If you have questions that you want answered, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And for now, I advise you to tune in the news at 6:30. I'm going to have the latest for you guys. Of course, the forecast going on right now outside, you probably could hear some thunder, see some lightning. There are some showers and thunderstorms out there, but I'm going to keep you guys updated, and I hope you have a good rest of your evening.